Hello there, my name is Joy KahNah and welcome to Neptune in the 7th house. If you don't know which house your Neptune falls in, here's how you can find out. First, you'll need to gather your birth information, including your birth date, birth time, and birth location. Once you have that information, click on the link in the description below. This will bring you to a chart generator. And once you're there, input all of your birth information. Next, select the chart drawing ascendant option. This will bring you to your chart, which will look something like this. Once you're there, you want to look for the symbol that looks like a person with their arms up. I swear that's what it looks like. Here's the symbol for Neptune. So look around your chart until you find that symbol. Once you've found it, look for the tiny little number near the center of the triangle that the Neptune symbol falls in. This number is the house of your Neptune. In this chart, you'll see that Neptune is in the 8th house, but in your chart, it could be any house 1 through 12. When Neptune falls in the 7th house, this brings a dreamy quality to our house of relationships, partnerships, and all sorts of legal contracts and agreements. In the highest sense, Neptune in the 7th house can bring us this amazing dream of a beautiful spiritual union, and it can bring us a marriage partner who exhibits Neptunian qualities. So this could give you a husband or wife who is extremely well connected to their intuition, or even a husband or wife who is an artist or a musician. Your closest partnerships in life, which also can include things even beyond marriage, like your best friendships or business partnerships, could really be blessed by this beautiful spiritual and artistic and dreamy energy. The challenge, of course, is that Neptune also has to do with illusions and where we can become delusional about what's really going on in our life. So if you have Neptune in the 7th house, it becomes extremely important for you to ground and be very realistic about those who are closest to you, especially those with whom you form legal contracts or agreements. And some astrologers even say that if you have Neptune in the 7th house, that you shouldn't form legal partnerships at all. Now, I definitely wouldn't say that, but what I would say is be aware that when it comes to close partnerships in your life, you might be wearing rose-colored glasses. It can be very easy to fall into patterns of projection. And how that works is we basically can get so caught up in our dream of how we want our partner to be, or our best friend, or our husband or wife, that we actually end up projecting those qualities that we want to see onto that person, when really they don't actually have those qualities in the way that we think that they do. Neptune can take us for a crazy ride, and it can really leave us empty-handed. So with Neptune in the 7th house, you could build up this huge dream of what your perfect partner is like. And maybe in your mind, this person is your soulmate or twin flame, and maybe they're just so kind, and maybe they just know you so well, and they're everything that you've dreamed of and more. Some people with Neptune in the 7th house can build up this big, huge dream of what their marriage partner has to be like, and then they can find that they actually become disillusioned and that they can't actually find that partner anywhere in the world. Some people with this placement could find that they keep on getting hurt or tricked in love over and over and over again because they didn't see that partner clearly for who they were in the first place. And that may be because they didn't want to, or it may be because Neptune just really got the best of them. With Neptune in the 7th house, you need to listen to the advice that your friends and family and teachers that they give you about your close partners, about your relationships, about your legal contracts. And you might not want to take the advice because you might really want to see the best in that person or in that potential contract or business opportunity. It's more likely that the people around you are actually seeing what's real than it is that you are seeing what is real. In my work, I specialize in soul connections and in twin flame and soulmate relationships. And what's really important to know is that even if you do go out in the world and you do meet your twin flame or your most perfect soulmate, that doesn't mean that the relationship is going to be perfect or that it's going to be easy. Disney and other film companies have really done us a disservice by making us believe that these dream relationships exist when they actually don't. All relationships do go through difficult times, and all partners, no matter how perfectly made that you were for each other, all partners have areas where they don't see eye to eye. I really don't feel that there ever have been two people that just fell together and just sustained their relationship for their whole life without any work. And funny enough, a lot of people out there would say that my husband and I are some of the most perfectly matched people that ever have been on this planet. Like, so many people have said that to me, but still we work on our relationship in order to make it match up to the dream that we both have. And I just think that's really important. If you have Neptune in the 7th house, remember that no matter how perfect the person seems when you first meet them or how perfect that they really are for you, our most perfect partners that were chosen for us by the divine often have sort of built in things about them that we're not going to be comfortable with initially, because the best relationships are the ones that cause us to grow and develop as a person and as a soul. Many astrologers will say that if you have any planet in the 7th house, then you will get married, okay? So an empty 7th house kind of says, okay, maybe you don't have any really close partners in your life, but with Neptune in the 7th house, at least this does mean that you will have at least one significant partner. The 7th house also is an indication of our second child. So having Neptune in your 2nd house could be an indication of your second child being a girl, or your second child having some of the qualities that we often think of as being feminine, like being very intuitive, very much a creative, dreamy sort of child. The placement of Neptune in our chart can show where in our life there are mysteries or secrets. There could be secrets in love, or there could be mysteries in love. You might share everything with your spouse, and you might think that they are sharing everything with you as well, but they may not be. They may be keeping a mystery from you, maybe something from their past, or they may be keeping big secrets. Unfortunately, that's just a risk when Neptune is in your 7th house, because it means that there's a fog over all of these 7th house matters. If you are married and you do have Neptune in the 7th house, make sure that you understand each other very well. Ask questions to gain clarity. And if something is uncomfortable to look at, don't just avoid it. You could have a tendency when a hard truth appears in that area of your life to want to turn the other way and want to escape into a fantasy world. The only way that you're going to be able to make your dream come true is to face the circumstances of what is truly going on and what really lies, behind that fog, and to bring it all out into the light of day. Try to look for pragmatic pathways to understanding together in your relationship. Maybe find out which love language each of you have by taking the love language assessment, or study your synastry and study your partner's astrological chart and yours to understand how you're both really showing up in the partnership. You may also benefit from getting couples counseling or something like that, where somebody who is outside of the relationship and isn't under that Neptune influence can help you to gain greater clarity. One of the lower aspects of Neptune can also be a victim type of mindset. With this placement, you must be very careful that neither you nor your close partners are falling into a victim mentality where you or your partner constantly believe that you're being taken advantage of or the world is against you. The truth of the matter is that people who are habitually victims of life over and over again are in that place because they want to be, because somehow their ego has an attachment to being the one who is wronged. Often it's because this allows them to circumvent responsibility in their lives. Make sure that there's not a victim and savior mentality going on in your relationship. Sometimes people with this placement will find themselves drawn to somebody who is addicted to drugs or alcohol or something like that. Neptune is especially affiliated with alcohol, and they'll want to try to save that partner. And understand that as much as you can hold space for another person's growth, you can't save somebody who doesn't really want to be saved or who doesn't really want to heal. And sometimes when Neptune's in the 7th house, it can show a dynamic where somebody is even taken advantage of in a relationship. So just make sure that your relationship dynamics are healthy. Study relationships, study real relationships. Read books written by people who really have achieved the type of relationship that you want with grounded, practical advice about how to get there. Now, Neptune also rules all of our legal contracts and legal affairs. So when Neptune is falling into your 7th house, it can make contracts kind of confusing to understand. And you might think, well, that's okay, I don't really have any big contracts that I need to look at. But actually, we sign contracts all the time. When you take out a new cell phone plan, for example, you're signing a contract. When you open a bank account, you're signing a contract. When you buy a house, when you get married, you're signing a contract. We sign contracts all the time. Even renting an apartment, we sign a contract. When you have Neptune in the 7th house, you can get so excited about contracts that have the potential to make your dreams real that you can forget to look at the details or ask the pertinent questions. So for example, someone with Neptune in the 7th house, they might get an opportunity to be a consultant for a business that they just love and that they have always wanted to work for. And as soon as that employer puts the contract in front of them, they might just put their name on it and be like, oh my gosh, yay, oh my gosh, oh yay, 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 my dream is coming true. And don't lose that enthusiasm because that's awesome. But also don't disregard the contract. You need to read every single line. You need to make sure that you understand every single aspect of every single legal contract that you're signing so that you don't end up being taken advantage of, because other people can sense that you are an idealist in these areas, and other people can sense that you have this dream. And unfortunately, sometimes people look out for those who are very dreamy, and they look to trick those sorts of people. And you might be one of those sorts of people without even realizing it. And especially with the 7th house, this can be true because the 7th house is what's called our descendant. And that basically is our back. It actually is the part of ourselves that we can't see, but that other people can see. So with Neptune there in the 7th house, other people can see that, oh, this is somebody who's not totally in touch with the reality of this contract, or this is somebody who's not even going to ask questions because they're so excited. So let me just put in these terms here and they're never even going to notice. If you don't understand, or if something isn't clear, don't assume that it's going to go in your favor because it might not, unfortunately. The 7th house also rules legal affairs in general, including things like court cases. If you have Neptune in the 7th house, I would not recommend filing a lawsuit against somebody else. If you really feel like someone has wronged you and you want to sue them, go ahead and do it. But just realize that Neptune is weakening your ability to win that case, because what Neptune can often do to our legal affairs when it falls in the 7th house is it can create a lot of confusion, and it can even create cases that become very, very drawn out because there's just a fog over what really happened, and sometimes the cases can't even be settled at all. Neptune also rules our maternal grandparents, so our grandmother and grandfather on our mother's side. And if you have Neptune in the 7th house, it can be an indication that in your mother's lineage that her parents somehow were on the high side, very artistic or intuitive. So this can often indicate that you may have actually inherited an intuitive or psychic gift from your mother's side, especially because psychic gifts often can skip one generation. So it may have been your grandfather or grandmother who had the special Neptune gift, and then now you may have it as well. And then of course on the shadow side of Neptune, that could include actually addictive tendencies, alcoholism, things like that come from your maternal lineage. From this video, it might seem like Neptune in the 7th house is a terrible placement, and that is not really true. Neptune in the 7th house, it can make your dream relationship or your dream business partnership a reality. My advice to you is just mind your Neptune. Realize that when it comes to those close one-on-one relationships, that you might not be seeing all sides of your partner closely, but if you make that intention to try to see them more realistically and you stay open to the opinions and feedback of others, then you can really build something beautiful. The same applies to any sorts of legal contracts or legal affairs as well. If you mind your Neptune and pay attention to all the details, and you're really willing to look at what's being offered to you and what the reality is, and you actually feel comfortable with the reality of what's being offered to you, then you can bring your dream down to reality. And that's really the most beautiful thing that we can ever do in this life. That's Neptune in the 7th house. I hope that you have enjoyed this video and that you have benefited from it in some way. And if you have, please feel free to come back any Tuesday or Friday for more videos here on the Maya's Dream channel. Thank you again for watching, and namaste. Bye.